Hello, everyone. We're going to continue our discussion, if you will, about the concept of severance damages. And what we're going to focus on this time is access, and more particularly, the loss of access that oftentimes occurs when property is taken from an owner by a condemning authority. As you can probably imagine and very well appreciate, having access to a property is one of the bundle of rights, if you will, that an owner has that allows that piece of real estate to have value. And without any ability to access a property, as you can reasonably imagine, it's going to be very difficult to generate any value for that property because you can't get to it. This is a phenomenon that happens more frequently than one might expect in the area of eminent domain. And what happens is that as a road is created by the condemning authority, what will often happen with these roads is they're what are called restricted access or limited access highways, for instance. So the roadway will come through, the front portion or one portion of the parcel is acquired by the condemning authority to put the road on, and yet there is a piece of that property that the owner still retains that fronts on the roadway. But as you well know, as you drive down freeways and interstate highways all over the country today, you cannot just get off those highways anywhere you want to. Your access on or off those highways is restricted to controlled intersections. So all of the frontage along those highways between those intersections is basically what's called restricted, and you do not have any access to the land that is fronting on those highways. So consequently, if you have a piece of land that only had access to one road, and that road has been acquired along with some of your additional land to create this new restricted access highway, your property is landlocked. And because that property is landlocked, you're now no longer going to be able to you can't get to it. So you can't utilize it for any kind of development or whatever would be the highest and best use for this property. So consequently, your value to this parcel has been substantially reduced, and the factors that come into play to determine how much value is left basically revolve around two concepts. One is how many other potential landowners abut this property that might be interested in buying it. In other words, your universe of buyers is now going to be relatively limited. And then two, what is the practical use for this property in terms of its size, its shape, its configuration for one of your neighboring property owners to buy. For instance, if that piece of property that you still have left is a large piece of property, let's say you're out in an agricultural area and it's maybe 30 acres, the neighboring property owner might very well want a 30-acre parcel to tie into and incorporate into his adjoining farm that he can utilize for raising crops, growing crops, harvesting crops. On the other hand, if the piece of land that you have left is a long, narrow strip that might be 50 feet wide, the neighbor adjoining property owner might say, that 50 feet doesn't really do me any good for anything. Yeah, I'll buy it from you, but I'm not really going to pay you very much for it because it really doesn't have a lot of utility to me. So it's the number of owners that surround this remaining parcel plus the configuration of that parcel that go into determining what the remainder value is worth. And the less that remainder value is worth, the higher or the greater the amount of severance damages to this parcel. So severance damages can be as high as maybe even 90% of what the original value was if, let's say, there's only one potential property owner to buy your land, and the configuration of the land that you have left is an unusual one that the neighboring property owner would have very little interest in. So these are the factors that go into determining the level of severance damages. The fewer the property owners abutting your remainder property, and the more difficult the configuration of your remainder parcel, all increase the level of severance damages due to this phenomenon.